I understand that I'm kind of late to this conversation, but I think I have a couple thoughts on this that I haven't heard anybody else say. And I think I can add a little bit to the ongoing conversation about AI. So I write, believe it or not, guy who runs a channel about books writes. I've written like 4 of them, and I'd like to make a career out of it. Turns out getting a book published is almost as much work as writing a book, is what I've learned. Which is like hella work, by the way. My first book took like 1.5 years to write, and I went through like 6 revisions in that time. Like it's a lot of work. Anyway, so I haven't really like seriously pursued it yet, but I will eventually. Someday, just not yet. But because of my aspirations, I do pay attention to like the publishing landscape. And the big topic of the literary world over the last couple of years has been the future of publishing with this new linguistic generative AI. And the worry is that these generative AIs will replace humans in the creative arts because publishing and just creative corporations will use them instead of human creatives because they're cheaper. This video is why I, as a writer of fiction, am like not super concerned about AI taking my job someday. There are 3 reasons for that. I'm just going to give them to you up front. So if they're not interesting, you can just click off. But they're in order of how important I think they are and like how interested I am by them. The first is publishing an AI-generated novel would not likely be financially feasible. The second is human authors are the reason that people buy books. And the third is AI, and I'll go on the record saying this, AI will never write a great novel. Okay, reason number 1, to publish an AI novel is just not a good financial idea for most publishing companies. What do I mean by that? Basically, you can't copyright them. You can't. It's the law. If you publish something written by AI, there is no copyright for it. Anybody can copy and paste it to their website. They can make a PDF file of it and share it with people. They can record their own audiobook, and you have no control over it. Copyright is the thing that publishers purchase. That's what they pay authors for, is the right to copy their work. And the only reason that that's worth anything is because it's exclusive. Nobody else can print copies of this book. Nobody else can publish it. If the publisher doesn't have that exclusive guarantee, are they going to be all that interested in laying out tens or hundreds of $1,000s to print a bunch of copies of this book and market them? No. Now, the haters, my ops, might be
like, well, actually, the books in the public domain, get republished. They get what's the word for it? They get reprinted, even though nobody has exclusive rights to them.
And they're right, kind of. The thing is that books in the public domain that get reprinted and get special editions and stuff are books that already have built-in audiences. It's Charles Dickens and Jane Austen and Shakespeare. Nobody's reprinting flops from 150 years ago because it's expensive and they don't want to spend their money on something they're not going to get their money back for. The issue here is laying out cash to create an audience for something that you don't have creative ownership of, which actually feeds really well into my next point, which is authors are the reason that people buy books. The most valuable thing you can put on a book cover to give you as a publisher the best chance of making your money back is not a cool title or like really interesting cover artwork or a good blurb or a good summary. It's the author's name. If I'm standing in a bookstore and I only have enough money to buy 1 book and I'm holding 2 books and one is a book that I've never heard of and the other is a Stephen King book, even if the other book has really cool cover art and a really interesting title and a great blurb and an awesome summary on the back of it, you're still fighting a really steep uphill battle because I know what's in a Stephen King book. And I know that there's an extremely high probability that if I buy this Stephen King book, I will not regret buying it. The author's name gives a potential buyer a lot of information about what's in that book or what to expect there. If you've read that author before, you know generally what does their narrative voice sound like, what types of plots and characters do they use a lot, and most importantly, are you going to like it? The reason that Stephen King and Agatha Christie and Brandon Sanderson sell like a ton of books is not because they're the greatest writers that have ever lived. No shade, I really like all 3 of those writers. It's because they consistently write books that their audience really likes, and they do it every single time. The reason that Brandon Sanderson sold $50 million of his secret project books during COVID that people bought without even knowing the title of was because they knew the author name that would be on those books. And they knew because it's a Brandon Sanderson book, we're just probably gonna like it. You could be the second coming of Harper Lee. It would not matter. You're gonna get outsold by Brandon Sanderson. You're gonna get outsold by Stephen King. Why? Because their names are Brandon Sanderson and Stephen King. With an AI generated book, you lose all of that. I have no information about what's going on in this book and will I like it or not. Every single AI book then is effectively a debut novel from a totally unknown writer. You have no built-in audience and you have no body of work or canon to tie it back into. And those are the things that sell books. Even if you spent millions of dollars to convince Congress to betray the interests of the many in favor of the few, which is possible and happens, would still be fighting an uphill battle to make any of that money back. Third reason, and most important and interesting reason, AI will never, quote me on this, will never write a great novel. I am willing to entertain the possibility that if you were willing to spend millions of dollars to get 218 votes in the House and 51 votes in the Senate to pass legislation that publishers could own AI copyright and were willing to lay out a marketing budget to get exposure and shelf space for a book written by nobody, then maybe, with a lot of human interference, AI could write a serviceable novel. I'm talking Dan Brown, Clive Cussler style book, like junk food. No offense. Books that are easy to consume and quickly forgotten about. Unassuming characters, fun but unremarkable plots, and not much to say beyond just the events of the book. Type of thing you would read on a plane or on a cruise or on the beach and then leave it in the hotel when you're done with it. The vanilla ice cream of the publishing world. I like vanilla ice cream sometimes. Dare I say, Da Vinci Code was like pretty fun, but I don't live off of it, and nobody with a really healthy reading diet does. I think AI maybe could write one of those someday. AI will never write anything that could compete with, for example, To Kill a Mockingbird, Infinite Jest, Frankenstein. Here's why I believe that. If we were to take everything written by humans and plot it by quality, whatever that means, I think we could probably expect it to look something like this. Over here is like cat running across the keyboard, guy falls asleep on the M key, unintelligible, meaningless. Just to the right of that, you have writing by little kids that are just learning to write. Also, Donald Trump tweets. I do not care if you like the guy. His tweets read like rambling. And then we have this. And this is where most literate adults live. This is where you can dictate simple thoughts clearly and concisely. And you can do it in a way that pretty much anybody that speaks English will understand, and you can do it while staying on topic. Over here is what gets published. Over here is Stephen King and Brandon Sanderson, and way over here is To Kill a Mockingbird. The way that AI works is it takes all of this and produces an average of it. Specifically, it takes your prompt, reads its database for similar prompts, and then chooses the most likely word to respond with, and then the next most likely word to follow that until it reaches a logical conclusion, until the most likely word is a period and the end of the sentence. AI is designed to write as averagely as possible, based on the training data that it's been fed, meaning it can never escape this majority. Now the haters will say,
Jonathan, can't the AI just train off of like the really great novels?
And to that I would say, shut up, dork. Your hair looks goofy, your clothes are too tight, you look like Andrew Tate, you're wearing heels to make you tall, you can barely bench your body weight. The problem is ChatGPT specifically was trained on roughly 400 million books worth of linguistic information. The number of like great books written in English is like probably in the thousands, which isn't even close to big enough to train an AI model on, but also all of these writers are extremely unique. Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison get grouped together, but nobody that knows them would ever confuse one for the other in like reading a page of their prose. None of these authors sound like each other. That's what makes them good. What we love about Margaret Atwood and Donna Tartt and Ernest Hemingway is that nobody else on the planet could have written what they wrote. If they sounded like everybody else, they wouldn't be literary greats. They would be average. That's what that word means. So if you try to take the average of everything over here, you would actually end up back over there. The language model would try so hard to capture the voice of these great writers that it would end up capturing none of them. That is the end of the video. Maybe I missed some stuff. Who knows? Feel free to speak on behalf of the ops in the comments. Thank you for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. Time is the new currency, and I appreciate you giving like some of it to me. And I'll see you in the next one.